Our Monday quarterback, Frank Holmes, joins me from London. Frank, good to see you, and what a wild ride we've been seeing in the metals market.
Yes, it has been really shocking. And over here in London, it's the same thing. Everyone's very depressed over resources.
All right, Frank, so commodities looking a little confused this Monday morning, with oil dropping to a 5-year low while gold is rebounding higher. We also have the S&P on track to its biggest loss since October. How do you see things set up right now, Frank?
Well, I think the global PMIs are coming out this week. Now, the Chinese, their PMI was negative. The 1 month is below the 3 months, so that impacts commodities. So I think these are factors, and we saw that Germany's PMI was negative, and this creates a lot of concern for investors, and it creates a skittishness.
All right, Frank, before we look at opportunities and threats now, let's look at the biggest news of the weekend, the Swiss gold referendum, and 78% of the Swiss rejecting the Save Our Gold initiative. Frank, were you surprised by this resounding no to the referendum?
No, I mean, gold gets knocked down just before the vote. There's lots of negative talk about it. But I think there's big short covering today because I think a lot of people were short going into it. But I don't think it really is a significant factor. Much more important are what are real interest rates doing around the world.
All right, Frank, we're going to get to our opportunities and threats segment of the show. Now, let's start with opportunities. And India removes restrictions on gold imports. Now, we know we've been speaking about this for a few months. It's finally happened. The Indian government dropped the 80-20 rule, which said that 20% of all imported gold had to be mandatorily exported before any new shipments could be brought in. Do you expect the government to reduce duties on gold as well, Frank?
Yes, I do, and I think it's a matter of taking a look at the data points that came out that gold demand in the first couple of weeks was the whole month of October. So I think it's positive what's taking place in India for demand.
All right, Frank, and what about this trend of European countries wanting their gold back? We saw Germany bring back their gold from New York. Then the Dutch just announced they would do this 2 weeks ago. And now France may be next.
I think there's a great concern on the credibility of central bankers. Do they own the gold? And they're being questioned. So they want to be able to make sure they can assure their citizens that they have their gold.
Finally, Frank, for opportunities, in your morning commentary, you mentioned some opportunities you were eyeing in the mining sector.
Well, the big part is just margins. What companies are actually throwing off some free cash flow, and not many. And so when we take a look at the companies from the royalty companies or the Randgolds, Gold Corp, there's not really many companies. And when we go down to the juniors, it's very few companies, and Klondex is one of them that does show that positive cash flow.
All right, Frank, on to threats now. And U.S. dollar net long positions reach highest level since 2008. This according to the CFTC. This reflects a bullish sentiment on the U.S. economy and currency. And as we know, Frank, usually a stronger U.S. economy is bad news for gold.
Well, I think it's what we could probably see is actually good gold demand for jewelry pickup in the U.S. Remember that Walmart is the biggest distributor of gold, simple gold jewelry, inexpensive, and Walmart's doing exceptionally well. And with the huge tax break that Americans are getting with the drop in gasoline prices at the pump, they're spending more.
Frank, we've also seen recent allegations against banks in regards to precious metals manipulation. Do you think this could scare away potential new investors?
No, I think it just amplifies data and all their arguments that gold is being manipulated. And I think that the more concern from the regulatory world is not prices being manipulated down, but being manipulated up. So there'll probably be much more of an attack on these bankers for LIBOR or interest rates being allegedly marked up, but not the commodities being marked down.
All right, Frank, finally, let's get to your touchdown pass of the week. What's it going to be?
Global PMI. Where are we in this landscape? We've written about this, and since 2008, whenever the 1 month is below the 3 months, all the commodities are challenged to get any type of a support, and we need to get a turn. But I do think in the new year, this huge drop in the price of oil will have a huge spending boom for Indonesia, China, Taiwan. All these countries will benefit in addition to North America. who will take it on the chin are exporters in the Middle East and some of the Latin American countries. But look at the second half of next year, great consumption spending.
Thanks so much, Frank. Enjoy your time in London, and we'll see you next week.
Happy investing.
And thanks for watching this edition of Gold Game Film with Frank Holmes. We'll see you soon.